faculty, professional staff, and students of the School of Nursing at Illinois Wesleyan University, I'm delighted to offer my welcome to you for the 2013 pinning ceremony. In advance of today's ceremony, we asked students to respond to several questions that are distributed electronically, and I'm going to share with you a few highlights. The first question we asked students is to tell us who from your class will be the first nursing professor and why. The student to receive the most votes is Kayla Worley. Kayla is described as having great energy, being intelligent, and interested in teaching. The second student is Sarah Yant. Sarah is good at teaching people information, and she's a genius. Samara received a significant number of votes as well. And Samara was described as very smart and patient, approachable, and another student wrote she pretty much helped teach all of us at some point during our nursing curriculum. Several other students received nods, and I want to acknowledge that of our graduating students, the majority were mentioned at one time or another. And for this question, who will be your first nursing professor? Hillary, Hannah, Elizabeth Avery, Emily Mannanen, Donna, and Annie, as well as Christy, all received acknowledgement. Nice job. The second question asked students to respond to who from your class will be the director of the IW School of Nursing and why. One student wrote, Dr. Folse will remain director forever. And I assure you that is not true. And so we have several future leaders among our ranks today. The first individual, Sarah Yant, was described as being laid back, smart, organized, and she really knows her stuff. The second most frequently mentioned student is Emily Mannanen. I love this quote. She might seem small and quiet, but she isn't. She has big ideas, enormous drive, and determination like no other. We had a tie for third place. Annie Gerard, she's always very motivated, very focused. She showed great leadership in her role as SNA president. Also in third place, Samara, because of her attention to detail and role as a leader in the classroom. Donna Chudnovskaya, because no one else would want to step in. As well as the fact that she's a team player and really knows how to get a job done. Again, honorable mentions, Jillian Crosser, Elizabeth Avery, Kayla Worley, Elizabeth Johnson, all received nods as well. We then ask, who will be the first nurse lobbyist? And keep in mind that recently our students traveled to Springfield, where as part of their leadership preparation, we're interacting with our representatives and senators about issues specific to nursing. This class believes that the first nurse lobbyist will be Samara. She's good at debating issues that are of interest to her, was the response. Ellie Richmond. I should have looked around to see where each of you are sitting so I can actually give you a nod. I see Ellie now. Ellie, because she's confident and well-spoken. Annie, with exclamation points that went across the page. This girl is so passionate and will not let anything get in her way. She's not afraid to speak in front of others and not afraid to speak her mind. Annie truly cares about nursing and patients and wants to do what's best. Her persistence will get her far. In this category, we have potential nurse lobbyists in Hannah, Ricky, Christy, Jasmine. We then asked the students to respond to the following question. Who from your class will be the next or the first chief nurse officer at a major medical center? And why? Jen Kneisel received the most votes. She's able to take on a lot of responsibility and is a good leader. Secondly, Courtney Buckwald. The first comment was, the chief of surgery in Grey's Anatomy was in the military, and obviously it worked out for him. But on a more serious note, Courtney is part of our ROTC program, and when she graduates, will take officer status in her role. And so the student wrote, she's in the Army, has her stuff together, and is a competent and great leader. I can just see it. The third highest number of votes went to Kayla Worley. Kayla's assertive, organized, and works well under pressure. With that said, students who also received lovely comments included Annie, Jill Olagus, Samara, Emily Mannanen, Jasmine, and Ricky as well. And I have to say, Ricky's our only male student in the class. And Ricky got shout-outs in lots of these categories. Who from your class will be the first to finish graduate school and why? Hannah Corley, #1 vote getter, has been trying to fulfill her prereqs for grad school since sophomore year. Jen, always on top of her game, and this student wrote, Jen asks questions not even I know the answers to. She's 2 steps ahead of all of us all the time. Tied for second is Donna Chudnovskaya, who has always expressed a desire to pursue an advanced degree. She has the motivation and skills to do so successfully. Kayla Worley, also on her way to graduate school, and this student wrote, I think she's already looking at graduate schools. Samara, Jen I mentioned, Samara, Sarah Swenson, Christy Strong, and Emily Mannanen also were perceived by their classmates as being contenders to finish graduate school first. In contrast, we asked students to respond to who will be the first to leave nursing. Priscilla Rowe received the most endorsement for that because Priscilla will be a professional cellist in a orchestra. Secondly, Sarah Walding will be focused on being the best mother. And according to this student, will rock at it. And if not a mother, you have a potential career as a child life specialist. Good to know. Maddie received the next number of votes, and actually she's tied with Allison Hart. Maddie's going to be a vet, and according to some classmates, Allison may want to do something more exciting with her life, as she may get bored with nursing. But I trust Allison will not be bored with nursing. Who from your class will travel the world promoting our global mission statement? Where will they travel, and what cause will they promote? Not surprisingly, we had 4 candidates who just really rose to the top. But the #1 student is Sarah Yant. Sarah is adventurous, as described by her classmates. She has passion, is very intelligent. People will listen to her. Another student wrote, Sarah Yant, duh. She'll be doing awesome missionary things. Sarah Walding is also headed abroad. And this was lovely. The student wrote, she is the kindest person ever and will travel anywhere that help is needed. Right behind her is Hannah Corley, who wants to get healthcare out to those who don't have access. So again, exciting responses. And I have to tell the audience, these data are de-identified, so when they come to me, they're just written in a crazy, random manner. So they're fun to read. We asked the students to describe what they will remember forever about their class. Again, this word appeared several times. Ricky. Nothing else, just Ricky. How crazy everyone gets when they're sleep deprived. Clinical bus rides, Dr. Kerr's ostomy extra credit assignment. Long hours of studying in Ames every night. Parents, do you hear that? Every night these students were in Ames. I will always remember Dr. Swanlin's pearls, her passion, and her excitement for the nerdiest things, like politics. Hanging out in the lab and freaking out about upcoming tests, modules, and clinicals. And the last comment I'll share, I will always remember the way that we helped each other survive, even in the most stressful of times, with late-night study sessions, commiserating Facebook threads, and a very necessary sense of humor. If you could turn back the sands of time, we asked the students, what year would it be and why? 1996. Kindergarten graduation, coloring for homework, and playing outside. The next student wouldn't go as far back, but this student would go back to the year of 2009. He or she writes, I was still in high school, had no worries in the world. I was enjoying going to high school and not doing any work. Right now, I'm focusing on finding a job and actually being an adult. Another student writes, after freshman year for sure, I don't think I could make it through human bio again. Sophomore year, I wish I had learned pathopharm a little better. That information is important. And similarly, another student wrote that he or she would return to sophomore year to have Dr. Jarvis again for pathopharm and to be blissfully unaware of all the extra stress that would come with the upcoming years. We asked the students to describe their very best memory of the IWU School of Nursing. Dr. Kerr's Florence Nightingale costume, conversations with Kim and Becky, as well as my very lovely classmates, being on a plane and sitting next to someone who was studying from Dr. Jarvis's textbook and being able to let that person know that that was my professor who wrote the textbook. Similarly, Dr. Jarvis's excellent comeback during a test review. Well, I wrote the book. And another student said that his or her best memory was Sim Man dying. I called my mom and cried. and again, for those of you who are unfamiliar, and moms in the room may be laughing, dads as well, part of the education we provide in preparation for direct patient care are some high-fidelity simulated activities in our lab. And so students are working with simulators that in fact have the capacity to code or flatline. And in this situation, if the students aren't responsive enough to the care needs, that can happen. So I'm glad that was a meaningful experience. It may have been in my sim. What will be your very best memory of Illinois Wesleyan unrelated to nursing? My very best memory will be when the men made it to the Final Four for basketball and the women made it to the championship. I try to de-identify this one, but this one is well known. Would the IWU diving team acknowledge where you're sitting? Yeah. This student's best memory, we'll call her Elizabeth, joining the IW diving team during my sophomore year. I will never forget the memories I've shared with my teammates and my best friends. So she goes on, but there's your shout out. I can identify this student as well, having great teammates on the track and field team and classmates to always make me laugh. Another student wrote, when Dr. Jekyll described the female cycle as bloody amazing. Another student wrote, there are too many to choose. Streakers on the quad, Eurotrans for Halloween, relaxing on the hot spot late at night. And lastly, the amazing friends I made along the way. What else would you like us to share about your class? That the hard work and no sleep paid off. We could have not made it through these past 4 years without each other. We've spent the past 4 years trying to learn all that we can while hanging on to our sanity and ultimately attempting to prove to ourselves and to one another that we can succeed. Well, we've made it. I know that each member of our class is going to be an amazing nurse in their respective specialty. The profession of nursing is gaining a great group of people. We asked the students to tell us what they're doing in 2023. One student is surfing in Australia after winning the lottery. Another student writes, in 10 years, I hope to God I am married and have a baby. Another student wrote, I hope I'm writing a book about my experiences as a nurse and living in a state, any state other than Illinois. Another student will have published a research article and become a speaker on LGBT cultural competence. Another student hopes to have it all. A beautiful marriage, a large, beautiful family with kids laughing and playing in the yard, and a job that makes me happy to go to work every day. What do you value most about choosing nursing as a profession? A student wrote, being able to influence the lives of people on a daily basis. I value the opportunity I will have to step into someone's life to provide support and encouragement at a time when they need it most. I chose nursing because I wanted to be the person who can find a way to make someone's most difficult times a little more manageable. Another student wrote, the ability to realize the following quote, you have not lived today until you have done something for someone who can never repay you. And then lastly, a student commented, it's comforting to know that the BSN degree can take you in many different directions, even if being a bedside nurse turns out not to be your passion. We then asked the students what they'd like their professors to know, professors and professional staff. One student wrote, I'll be honest and say that some of you made me absolutely miserable. The student did go on to say more. Another student said, thanks for challenging me and knowing when I needed a little extra support. And that student went on to acknowledge several of our faculty colleagues specifically. You will never truly know how your words and actions have impacted my future and my outlook on life for the better. I am thankful for your mentorship and for the memories. I hope our paths continue to cross. And another student said, I would like my professors and clinical instructors, as well as professional staff, to know that I had the most amazing nursing education of my life. You all definitely challenged each of us, but it is going to make us an even better nurse. I will miss all of you. And then lastly, we ask our students to tell us what they'd like their families to know. Be comforted in the following statement. The 4 years of tuition you paid to IWU will pay off when I'm caring for you when you are old and wrinkled. Thank you, another student writes, for putting up with my occasional meltdowns, for all my tears and all my complaining. There were a lot of times when I thought I wouldn't be able to make it through this program, but you were always there for me to put things in perspective. And finally, a student writes, I'd like to thank my family for their support and encouragement throughout the entire experience, especially when I needed it most. Your confidence in my abilities helped to keep me positive even after the most stressful weeks and longest study marathons. We have with us many faculty and staff who have been instrumental in the success of the class of 2013, and I'd like them to stand and be recognized. At this time, I would like to tell you about the symbolism of the pin and invite my colleagues, Dr. Susan Swanlin and Dr. Brenda Lesson, to the podium as we begin our formal ceremony. Graduates, you will soon receive the scrolls that are in the baskets, but I want to tell you about the background of the School of Nursing pin that each of us wear. The three of us are Illinois Wesleyan graduates. We have a graduate, Evelyn Lance, who was the Illinois Wesleyan class of 1941 when we were affiliated with the Brokaw Hospital School of Nursing. I was able to meet Mrs. Lance on multiple occasions. She was a phenomenal supporter of Illinois Wesleyan, and it was quite meaningful. Last year, her granddaughter, Lisa Strack, graduated from our program, and Lisa was presented with Mrs. Lance's pin, who had died just a few months before pinning. But Mrs. Lance writes the history of the School of Nursing pin. As the pin of the Illinois Wesleyan School of Nursing consists of two crosses, some of the Urbana white things, there you go. One superimposed upon the other, and the whole bounded by a circle of blue. The inner cross is the cross of St. George, blood red on a field of gold. This cross for centuries stood for unselfish service. It suggests that those who bear it are eager and ready to soothe those who are suffering, regardless of rank, position, color, or creed. The St. George cross is the set in the center. The cross was originally adopted by the Knights of the Hospitaller in the 11th century. Its broad arms symbolize the wings of a bird covering her young. It intimates the supreme protecting powers of those who bear the symbol, you who shield and care for the weak, the helpless, and the needy. The blue has long stood for truth and loyalty. The blue circle edging the pin combines the meaning of the two crosses, unselfish service and protection of the helpless, with the sincerity of belief and loyalty to its never-ending circle. And you'll receive that as we invite each of you to come up when your name is called to join us. I should look. You didn't even sit alphabetically, but we can make this work. We alphabetized you up here, so we're in good shape. Our first graduate for 2013 is Karina Acosta. These are wonderful picture moments. So. You won't have the luxury of time at graduation. It will go much more quickly. Rick, you're ready? Rick Ames. Elizabeth Avery. Although we've just finished 3 of our candidates, I failed to ask those that are here to support this graduate to stand while they're being recognized. So, Elizabeth, you have guests today? Oh, I know who you are. Thank you. And I believe that neither Karina nor Rick were able to bring supporters. I'll tell you what, stand for Karina and Ricky, please. Yeah. Catherine Brown. I like having family and friends stand because their success is so dependent on the support received, as you heard, through this very grueling program. Megan Brooke. Courtney Buckwald. When I graduated from Illinois Wesleyan, we held pinning on the morning of graduation, which simplified the lives of families. We just have a packed schedule for graduation day. Kristen Carba. Say our only challenge with the entire class standing, if there are family and friends here, is they're trying to take pictures. So you might have a picture of your backside in Kristen's album. Dana Chudnovskaya. I told Donna this funny story. We asked, just so I can respectfully pronounce names at graduation, for the students to write their names phonetically. Chudnovskaya. Donna writes Donna, like Madonna, without the ma, with no reference at all to her name. Fortunately, I had mastered it years earlier. So. Jasmine Cole. I'm really resisting temptation to tell stories about each students. Miss Kentucky, that's right. But sadly, her family moved to Ohio, but she'll always be Miss Kentucky. Taylor Cordes. Hannah Corley. Jillian Crosser. Maggie Dissler. Mackenzie Floyd. Ann Gerard. Will take everything in my power to not say Annie or Ricky at graduation. So I'm working on it. Samantha Haney. Allison Hart. Lindsay Hayes. Jonathan, we appreciate your support. Emily Henchman. Madeline Hoffman. Monica Hubeck. Hillary Huckstedt. Elizabeth Johnson. Jennifer Kneisel. Chelsea Kowach. Emily Manninen. Emily's family was just here this past weekend. Emily was one of our 2 honors research students, and her family was at every event this past weekend with John Wesley Powell and with her induction into Phi Kappa Phi. So thank you, students, faculty, and staff, for standing. Jill Oligus. Ellen Richmond. Priscilla Rowe. Samara Shane. Rachel Saltweedle. Christy Strong. Christy's family was also here this past weekend, as she was our 2nd honors research student. So her family spent the weekend at Illinois Wesleyan. Sarah Swenson. Sarah Walding. Kayla Worley. Before I invite our next graduate to the stage, I would ask her mother to join us on stage. Mary Parker, class of '83, will be presenting Sarah Yount with her nursing pin. And Katie Zimnick. As Katie returns to her seat, if our class of 2013 would stand, please join me in recognizing them. If you would allow Jonathan to be the first one in the line, please proceed to the atrium where you can greet your families and friends and thank them for their support.